It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.
Now, off camera, we were talking a little bit about reforming, right? And I've touched on some of the videos that I've seen about you talking about it. Is that one of your side businesses as well now? Because I know you've reached out to certain people dealing with their legal problems, and so is that something that you're veering to? And
I'm just I'm in the business now of assisting people, and this is gonna sound crazy, but even when I sold cocaine, I thought I was in the people business, because when I started selling cocaine, it was more or less when people used to come and buy cocaine from me in the beginning, they would say, "Me and my girl, we're going to the club tonight, and we're gonna be getting high."
Right.
So, in my mind, I knew very little about cocaine at the time. I believed that it was part of the club scene, that it was part of this upbeatness, this excitement that everybody was going to. So I felt I was doing a public service.
And that changed over time?
It did. You know, because what happened is I started to see dope fiends.
Right.
You know, but then now I'm hooked.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just as hooked as they are, maybe even more, because one of the things that I say about dealing drugs is there's usually nobody that's going to tell you to quit. Because most of the time the people around you are coming to you for money.
Yeah.
So they don't want you to quit, because if you quit, then their money ain't going to be there no more. So most of the time they encourage dope dealers to keep going. And at least if somebody knows that you're using drugs, they'll say, "You ought to quit using drugs."
Yeah.
But with a drug dealer, they never say that.
Now, do you, the only reason I'm going to bring this up is I've brought it up on past podcasts. One of the reasons I work so hard on this podcast trying to get it going is during the day, I'm a nurse. And I have that same feeling about being a nurse, I tell people, is I got into it to help people. And now I realize I'm part of the problem. Now I realize we're only trying to figure out ways to build people, and nurses aren't getting into it because they're compassionate people. They're getting into it because you can make big money. You work a lot of overtime. You can, you know what I mean? And that's where I listen to your story, and I'm like, man, I feel the same way. And I'm just a legal drug dealer sometimes, I feel like. You know what I mean? For Big Pharma. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because just to give you some perspective on it, because...
That's interesting, though, that two totally different businesses, one on the black market, one is totally legal, but the same concept is taking place.
Yeah. Keep them coming. Charge them and keep them coming. And it just kind of, it makes you wonder. I mean, when you break it down like that, it does make you wonder, you know, who's really the criminal in this situation? you have to, you have to, or are they one and the same, or is it neither one, you know? But, you know, speaking of that, like when I hear, you know, the era that you came up in when you were thriving as a dealer, when you hear about people talking about it now, is it an over-exaggeration of what the 80s were, the 90s were? Do people over-exaggerate what that was, or was it as bad as people describe it now today?
80s was fun, man. You know, one of the things I found out about myself, and I imagine it's about people from those eras and those eras, is we adopt. You know what I'm saying? We adopt our environment. We'll become immune to seeing somebody laying on the sidewalk dead because somebody shot them. We'll become immune to seeing pimps beat up prostitutes right on the street. So when you become immune to all of these things that's going on in the community, you start to believe that they're normal.
Yeah.
That this is just the way it is. And especially if you don't have the idea or the wherewith to go outside of that community to see something different. one of the things that I say about the black community is that we lost our vision. You know, we can't see what's coming. You know, we can't predict the future. And I don't know if you get a chance, you guys got to read the LA Magazine article, and they almost make me look like I'm prophesying, you know.
Really?
Because what I did is I laid out my business plan of all the things that I planned on doing when I get out of prison, but I still had a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
Right.
So I was probably at the very lowest state of my life. You know, that was probably the lowest state of my life.
Right. Anticipating a life sentence.
No, I had a life sentence.
You had a life sentence.
Yeah. When you go look at my paperwork, it said death.
Wow.
So to have that on you, but still be able to say, when I get out, I'm gonna be going to college speaking. I'm gonna have a book out. I'm gonna have a movie.
How did it feel to step out that first day, knowing that you beat the case?
It was crazy. It was crazy, unbelievable. You know, unbelievable, but at the same time, I knew it.
Yeah. You were living it out.
Yeah,
Living
you know,
it
like
out.
you saying, see, you go through this when you're in prison. Damn, I ain't gonna never get out of here. And then tomorrow you be like, yeah, I'm getting out of here. This place can't hold me. I'm breaking out. So you know, you talking about over a 20-year period, you have different mood swings.
Yeah.
You know, constantly. You know, something new might come up in the law, and it's just, you know, you waiting on the appeal to come. You know, so you go through these different mode swings over a period of time.
What is it that kept you going when you were in there? What type of stuff did you study? Did you read? Did you just have different types of hopes and aspirations that just keep you going?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna do everybody, all your listeners, a favor. I'm gonna put them in on my secret.
Okay.
All right.
I read 3 books, and I know your listeners, they're not gonna go get them anyway. So I don't know why. You know. You know, when I go speak at schools in the ghettos, and I tell those kids, I say, I found these 3 books that really, really opened my eyes. You know, they taught me how to really, really become a critical thinker. And then I give them the names, and everybody just sit there and look at me.
Right.
So I go to Brown University, you know, Brown University, Ivy League school, one of the top schools in the country, maybe the world even.
Right.
And I said, these 3 favorite books. And I looked up, everybody was getting their backpacks and scratching down the name of the books. And I'm like, wow, what a difference.
Absolutely.
You know, but those 3 books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Richest Man in Babylon by T.R.A.G.I.C, and As a Man Think or As a Woman Think by James Allen. Those 3 books are what I use when I felt a little depressed or down.
Yeah. How many times have you read each book?
Oh my goodness.
At least 10 times?
25 each.
Right.
25 each, front and back. But then I would just open them up sometimes and just, you know, I just sit there and I just open it up to whatever page popped up.
Right.
And I felt that was what I was supposed to be reading at that time, because that's what popped up. You know, I'm one of those guys that whatever it is what it's supposed to be. Like, I believe right now we're sitting in Soul, vegetarian Oakland, because this is where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate the fact that you brought those books up and that you're talking about how they, you know, really affected you at a particular time in your life, because anybody who's read a good book that's done that for them can relate. When I was 19, I picked up The Prince by Machiavelli for the first time ever. And, you know, a lot of people will look at it and they'll be critics of it and they'll say that it's just kind of like a blueprint on how to lie and deceive. But at that time, from my perspective as a 19-year-old, it was a playbook on human behavior. And that's the way that I took it. And I've been hanging on to that book ever since. So
I love Machiavelli too.
Absolutely. Yeah, Discourses, The Prince. I mean, and the whole point, though, is that sometimes a book will speak to you. You know, you just got to be willing to open it up.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I do? I put myself in the book.
Absolutely.
I play a character. I changed his name to Ricky Ross.
Right.
This dumb motherfucker right here was Ricky Ross.
Right.
Silly.
Man, I would love to see your books. They probably got a bunch of names crossed out and said Ricky Ross right on top.
You know what I did? My first Richest Man in Babylon was like that. And I share my books with people. And somehow I shared my book, and it wound up in Terminal Island. So a guy got out of Terminal Island, kept the book because he saw it was mine, and he saw me one day and he was like, man, will you autograph this book for me? And I looked at the book. I said, where you get this book from? And he said, man, I don't even know where I got it from. I just know that I wound up with it. And I saw that it was yours, and it was all highlighted and marked up. And I said, man, I'm going to keep this.
Yeah.
And I autographed the book for the guy, and,
Yeah.
and it was amazing. Yeah, but yeah, I would mark my books up.
It's a great symbol. It's a great symbol of what you were talking about. You got to share the game. You know, if that's a great gift to give to somebody.
But Charlie Murphy, my main man, Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.